day, man. We had our class meeting out there.
Arthritis. I said, I understand that.
So that's for my question.
A lot of people.
I know
Stood up, twisted the ice.
Yeah, it's random.
Good idea. No, Friday, it's not working out. That's okay.
Is it safe to have plans?
Yeah, that was like my favorite thing.
Yeah. Hey, Chris really hasn't done much with that yesterday.
Oh, I mean,
Yesterday.
it's
Chris CCS.
It's.
What's that? You said he was gonna be here today. I mean, at our.
Yeah.
last week.
I remember that last weekend. Race for next weekend.
We a couple of different people.
The church, the only one who's missed.
Cunningham and Lorraine.
This is 3027.
Some guy from Kenneville. I Miller worked in that.
Yeah.
Yes. In range chiropractor.
Yeah, right. That's, look at that.
You know, I called.
I don't want this too for those.
You do 3 weeks, I can tell. Tomorrow, next day. And
Well, I don't know. Well, wouldn't be.
No, there's 1,000 west out there.
Yeah, there is. Yep, you're right. So it would be,
Okay, yes, I think you should still very clear.
So it's not pocket.
just be at 6. Yeah. Not like a BZA meeting where they always have a tie vote.
yeah, there's no Jake and you said no Andy.
Board of BZA, it's two.
Jake's on coming here?
Jake.
And Jim Slabaugh?
I have not heard from Jim today.
We're still friends.
He's probably trying to.
Yeah.
Thank you, I will have.
You were my favorite board member. You part of me.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. I know you like me.
I do.
Okay, so it's 5:01, I'll call the meeting in order.
The recording.
Yes. So we ready?
Great.
Okay, Clint, do you want to start with the roll call?
Sir. Austin Boudreau.
Present.
Karen DeForest.
Here.
Cole Ridenhour.
Here.
Christina Kress.
I'm here.
Landon Brown. Here. Jeff Rhodes.
I'm here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Good job, thank you. Okay, so again, Tina, thank you very much for getting the April minutes out. I said thank you. Did I say Tina again? I'm looking at you.
Yes.
Okay.
Just change your name to Tina.
Yeah, no, and I'm reading name tags, you know. No, so Tara, thank you very much. I know that those minutes, just for everybody, you know, the April meeting was the one that we had in the auditorium about the Crooked Lake, and so it was lots of back and forth, and we didn't give her appropriate notice when we each of us spoke. So I had a chance to go through the minutes, and I think they were wonderful. So I'll entertain a motion to approve, or if there's any edits people want.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Okay, it's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor to approve the minutes from the April meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes approved, okay. Moving down, chairman's report. I don't have anything new to report. I guess maybe just more as a part of my report to Dawn. So the meeting from the 29th, did we fulfill everything that was required on your side?
Yes, I actually filed a motion. And we hadn't filed the findings, special findings of fact. And I sent the attorney, I said, look right behind the transcript is the special findings of fact. And he acknowledged yesterday, I missed it.
Okay. I'll mention, but nice of you, but. Yeah, it's, any questions with regard to that? Everybody, so you weren't here, but again, it was a nice, clean concise meeting. We had great instruction in the executive session so that, and we had a great crowd here. They couldn't participate, but a few people seemed a little miffed at how it was orchestrated,
But that's the special one was during the day, right? Yeah, yes.
Right.
And I apologize.
No, I completely understand. But like I said, we had a good crowd that was here and a few questions afterwards. I think that were helpful, just for people to understand kind of what the next steps were from our perspective. But again, a county issue that will be further discussed.
So I do have a on that, probably to Don, what are the next steps? Like, or so,
Well, there's 30 days for the remonstrators to submit a brief. And there's 30 days for me to submit a brief. And also potentially an intervening party. They had a hearing the other day on intervention by the remonstrators who hired an attorney. And there's a question as to whether they can intervene or not, and they held a hearing. I didn't attend because it wasn't anything I had anything to do with, but I'm waiting on a court order. So potentially it could be 2 briefs.
The demonstrators already have an attorney?
Yes, but
They hadn't filed anything.
they haven't filed anything, and they want to participate in the briefing process. So that's why they filed a motion to intervene.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could necessarily describe that or describe that to anybody that asks, but it's just the process will.
And it's not short.
And then you wait on the judge's decision. So potentially oral argument too, that the judge could request oral argument.
Okay.
So we're looking at least 90 days, if not
I would say 90 days, yes, at least.
Who's it in front of? I'm so sorry. What court's it in?
It's in front of Judge Moser. So.
Huh?
Something new for him, right?
Yeah, but not.
Everything is new.
Yeah,
Never
exactly.
mind.
That's right. Okay, that's all I have for my report. Does anybody have any questions for me? Anything that we need to further focus on? Okay, I'll run to reports by committee, city county liaison, which Austin sent the one from last month, which was awesome, which was great. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, the main thing there was another TJA variance that.
Oh,
we're just
ETJ?
waiting- or ET
Yeah. No,
What I said,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever I said was wrong.
I thought you were saying you I was like, why are we number 2?
But, again, just kind of waiting, hopefully that Andy can make some headway, so that we have some more guidance.
Okay. Yeah, and that would have been the other thing, just to kind of, we haven't heard anything else, with regard to that anyway, right?
well, they're saying that, I mean, the last I heard was they're gonna take it on until they can't, or if I feel that they can't, but so far.
Okay.
Yeah, phone calls have stopped. The kind of city called us, 2-3 weeks ago, asking questions. We pulled Jim, basically we pulled the whole 3rd floor, maybe even the health department in and answered their questions. And
Okay.
it wasn't like, hey, you guys, it wasn't finger pointing. It was like, help us out. So that's where we're at. So,
So that's a big part of that.
and Andy basically said, just until I say otherwise, let me keep doing what I do. So,
Right.
yeah.
Good, okay, and I mean, and as long as there's
So I
not,
should just continue as is.
Yep. I think that makes more sense. Do you have anything else in, with that?
Andy
Austin?
hasn't been here. So is there any movement on a contract or just?
Oh, there will be one. I'm not sure.
Well,
Technically, if you look at Indiana code,
I
there's.
so Andy wasn't here the last time I was here. And so we pushed it to this meeting to get an update. And so I was just asking, is there a contract coming or we are?
I think we're just at this point falling back on Indiana code, the blue book section, what, the 3674-205?
Yep.
I think that's what we're falling on right now.
And municipality, yep.
But it seems as if there's been a line drawn here essentially that someone's tabling it, it's not. Okay. I mean, it's not coming to your office.
It's not getting pushed back to us.
So that may be as much of an update as you may get.
Yeah.
Just.
How long, you understand the issue with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
When it works just because 2 people get along, what happens if those 2 people change and then we're back into the same boat again?
I don't disagree with that, but I don't know that we're going to get a firm
They have swatted down every interlocal agreement.
Everything we tried.
Yeah, anytime we try to get anything in writing, they're just vehemently opposed to it.
Well, and I get that, but I don't believe that they have the right to swat it down.
I mean, that's why I want to keep it on the agenda and that, we still push for the interlocal agreement for just that purpose.
Right, I mean, I'm not trying to,
Yeah,
I'm just
no, I
trying
agree.
to,
It happened fast and furious 20 years ago. It was quiet for a long time and then it popped back up because of disagreements. And that's, so we need to have some formal agreement so that when we're all not here.
correct.
That there's,
That's my only thing.
yep, I agree.
Or it's your turn to come back as
20 years, we'll have this whole
same argument.
I don't think that would be amazing. No.
Okay, well, and again, and it's on the agenda as well, the extraterritorial jurisdiction in the interlocal agreement, which is just unfinished business until we are, it's compiled and complete, yeah, okay? Let's move, any questions then for Austin? We'll move on, drainage board? Anything?
Nothing really,
That's significant.
yeah,
Okay, any questions for Karen, the drainage board?
we're Don. Don's the attorney, and I just attend.
You attend, but yeah, either one. Okay, I'll move on to the plat committee.
Nothing yet. We've got a survey that I got forwarded to me that they're gonna apply for a minor subdivision soon, but haven't gotten it yet, so.
Okay. But otherwise, we're caught up in everything, right? Everything's signed.
One, we're just waiting on Chip to sign tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we should be all caught up.
And that's really, we help the commissioners out by having those things done, correct?
Correct.
So that they can get to the docket appropriately.
Correct.
Okay, good. Yeah, and thank you to, Karen and Jim and the staff for making sure we're on top of that. Shoehorning us into schedules, that's great. Any questions about plat committee? If anybody ever wants to serve, we can always do that. I shouldn't because they still get my name wrong.
I actually, one of the things that I sent back to him, I said, everything looks good. However, this isn't a requirement, but my board president would like Jeffrey T. Rhodes for his signature, so I didn't
You
put
know
it,
how hard it is to sign when you're used to signing the T? Stop.
hit the brakes.
Okay, so thank you.
I'd be interested in starting what it entails. So,
Okay, but yeah,
I said, interested.
yeah, okay, let's.
We do it like 8:30 in the morning once a month typically, if we have something on the docket. It's one of those we don't even schedule unless there's something to schedule.
But it is, it's the tip of the spear in the process, and, when people are subdividing or platting or, wanting to get on a map and they're which is, again, I think it's a great process. But yeah, thanks. Any other questions that way? Okay, BCA?
I have not went to site yet, but I will be planning on it. It looks like we have several variances on there for setbacks and that really looks to be what it is. There's 5 of them on there.
For your next BZA meeting, there's
Yeah,
5
for
people
Monday.
asking for variances. How many of
Yes.
them are from the lake?
Let's see, what, 1, 2 of them? Am I right?
2 Lake George, 2 Jimerson Lake, but one of them is actually Buena Vista, and then 1 Lake Gage, off the top of my head.
So they're all lake ones?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I was trying to count down the things.
Yeah.
See where the addresses are because it's really
Okay,
tiny print.
so thank you. Any questions for Karen with regard to BCA going forward? Okay, thank you. Okay, so did we want to jump to new business or should I guess we have everything unfinished business pretty much ready?
Pretty much.
We got a couple
I know we got the
ready for a
ordinance.
vote. We got a
Yeah.
couple
Look at
new ones to
ordinance
bring up.
stuff.
Okay,
That's basically the old business / new business would be ordinance updates, and that does include the AFO ordinance draft.
okay. So
you want to-
is everybody okay if we jump to new business? Just, we've got folks that are here.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
I think that's great.
Yeah, so if there's no objection, we'll move, we'll skip past unfinished business for now and start with the new business. So Clint, if you want to do your magic there. Man, we didn't run through our protocols and everything, but
The general information.
yeah,
You want me to go through that?
yeah, it's usually, we usually have a ruckus crowd, so it's not bad.
I'll go to that. Yeah, please turn your cell phones off or to vibrate. Please keep conversations to a minimum and when necessary and as quiet as possible. Meetings are recorded. Information concerning the agenda and applications are available on the table near the entrance. Restrooms are located at the north and south ends of the hallway. Exit is located in the north end of the community center. Please sign in and include mailing address. Staff presents an application. Petitioner speaks for the application. Members of the public may speak in favor or opposition to the application. Planning Commission members may question remonstrators. Petitioner may address questions with no new evidence presented. Motion is made. If a second is received, discussion will commence. Amendments may be made. Voting will take place. The result will be announced. Please speak only when at the podium. State your name and address. Speak only to the chair. Be brief and speak to the topic in discussion. Be mindful there is a speaking time limit. Planning Commission may adopt a per speaker time limit. You ready?
Yeah, and I just wanted to give you, I felt badly if you've not been here before that you didn't know those rules. So you didn't know. So yeah, if you guys want to start.
I have planned an old pro from the cow. I've done him 100,000 times.
Yeah, so yeah, let's move on to item number 1 under new business.
DPW-25-02 Helmer Methodist Church, Kirk Donovan. Petition for a vacation of a public way. The proposed public ways for vacation are platted street and alleys adjoining lots 1, 2, and 3 of Clementine Stroman's Edition, 7530 State Road 327, Section 32 of Salem Township. 76-12-32-32-310-105.000-014, 76-12-32-32310, missing the dash there, Chuck, -106-100-104, and 76-12-32-310-107.000-014. And here you're looking at the stuff on the north of the picture and the west of the properties. That is actually 327, and Colt and I cannot figure out what road that is. It runs east to west, but it's not 700 south, that's farther north. So you look at all the other yellow stuff, the alleys in there south of the church.
Okay.
Here's some pictures from 327, and I was out there when this happened.
Must be 750.
Yeah, there you go. That makes sense. So that,
It's 750, 30, or 750.
Yep. There you go. These are pictures, basically what you saw in yellow. It's more or less vacant lots in between the church and the next resident. And I don't think it butts up. It butts up to, but doesn't go across the stuff in the back there, the barns that you're seeing. That's all I have for you.
Okay.
What's this?
Do we have somebody, you guys want to talk to it? You can approach the podium and we'll discuss and question. How's that?
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Sexton, private consultant, addressed 9807N, 1200 E, Kendallville, Indiana. I am here representing the Helmer United Methodist Church and Kirk Donovan. And for clarity and transparency, I am also a member of the Helmer Community Church, so everybody's aware of that. I used to own, years ago, Sexton and Associates for about 36 years. I'm a public servant in Noble County and do a little bit of work on the side along this line. So I'm here representing this evening for my church and for our adjoining owner to the south. If you look at this is the north end of Helmer. My experience over the last 40 years is a lot of these communities had areas laid out with anticipation of are reaching expanses beyond where they ended up. And so that is why I believe you have Clementine Stroman's Edition, you have Stroman Street, and you also have the alleys that adjoin our lots on the east side. Previously, some years ago, you'll see where the church building is. The alley was vacated along lots 4, 5, and 6 in order to be able to add on Fellowship Hall, which is if you look at the ridge that's going north-south, basically close to the east property line, that is the Fellowship Hall. There's an overhang, and then the main church that's been there for a century and more, going way back. It was relocated from south of Helmer at one time for those that are interested from a history standpoint. Close to 2 years ago, through a disaffiliation process, the property was conveyed from the Methodist Church, United Methodist Church, to the Helmer Methodist Church Incorporated. And it was during this process that we became aware of and actually looked into and realized that these vacated ways that we've been maintaining for many, many years were not taken care of and need to be cleaned up. If you look at the church building, it's kind of hard to see, but there's an addition on the north side of the main sanctuary and the fellowship hall, which limits any further expansion in that direction. And I'm proud to say, and also I'll take a minute to, and I'm remiss for having not done this. The two people with me this evening is Kurt Donovan and Pastor Donna Holcomb from our church. We're proud to say the church is expanding. We're getting a lot of younger people, and there has been discussion in more recent times about adding on to the church. And if you look at the sanctuary, the only visible way to add on to that and make the sanctuary bigger is to add on to the south side, which would be towards the utility sheds that we have, and those need to be relocated. The other thing is we do not have adequate and real nice Sunday school classrooms. So along with the sanctuary addition, we would be doing down the road classroom additions. To do all of that, it necessitates the vacation of Stroman Street, and we would like to go ahead and take care of the alleys. On the far south end, we own lot 2 and 3, which is joins the north and the south side of the street. And directly south of that is the remaining lot, which is lot 1, and that is owned by Kurt Donovan. His driveway is just south of the lot where you park. And so actually his drive is in the public way there. And also part of his yard in the back is a public way in that alley. So that is the purpose of the need and the desire for the vacation. We believe that it doesn't adversely affect anything and won't change the dynamics of the town of Helmer in any way. We're just cleaning things up in anticipation of down the road, probably a church expansion. I don't want to ramble. I know you got a fair amount yet to go over tonight, so that kind of gives you an idea of where we're at. And if you have any questions of either Pastor Donna or Kurt or myself, we'll be glad to take care of those. Thank you for your time this evening.
A great summary and congratulations. You do great work if you want to expand. So good job. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Questions from the board? Mr. Sexton?
My only concern is there any other field access to the obviously ag field behind you other than that street?
There's 3.
Do they have a culvert off 750?
They have access. There's over 3 acres, I'm thinking about 3.5 acres, a fair amount of ground adjoining 750, and they have a driveway that goes out to 750.
So we'd see that expanded a little bit more.
Not probably with that area because it's older than what your aerial's older than what the construction is.
I'm looking at GIS. It's exactly how he's describing.
All right, cool. Thank you. Other questions?
Do we know if there's any public utilities that run through these?
There is a sewer line and there is an easement for that sewer line.
Okay, so there's
We're not adversely affecting any utilities.
When you vacate, there's a statute, I'm sure Randy's aware of, it says the utility easements continue in effect.
Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure is that if there was an easement.
Actually, the sanitary sewer goes over and there's a house and the angler to the north of 750 that are connected into that. And we wouldn't be doing anything that would adversely affect it on the all.
Okay, good. Nice questions. Anything else? Not, we can entertain a motion, and I'd like somebody to read all the numbers again for Tara.
Move to approve the petition as applied.
I will second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion with regard to the recommendation to the commission for the action? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The petition is recommended for approval. Thank you. That makes sense for everybody?
This will be heard by the commissioner.
Yeah. So
I'll find out their next meeting and I'll get you on the
We
document.
just met this
Yeah.
week, so it's gonna be at least a week and a half to.
Yeah, and the deadline to get on should be next Wednesday, so you should have plenty of time to get on that next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Building, we will go.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. It's happening the whole time I tell them. It's awesome.
I used to travel to their quite frequently. every month. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they've got plenty.
In Mexico.
Oh, Mexico.
Thank you all. Okay, so the second page is the same thing. Or at the top of the second page?
That's your.
No, these are different districts. So the first,
No, he's looking at that's what you were supposed to look at.
Okay.
That was the whole packet for the,
I was looking at the front page, sorry.
you're good.
I was double checking the number, but yeah, we're all set. Okay, so let's move back, yes, so now we'll go back up to unfinished business. And,
Perfect. Yeah, I got both spots. I'll go back to this right now.
so where do we want to start?
We'll probably cross EPJ off since we had that discussion already.
Yeah, I mean, we'll keep it on the list, the stormwater ordinance.
From what we understand, it would be nice if Jim was here tonight. I didn't ask him today. Supposedly Brandon did deliver to them and they are reviewing it.
Okay, good.
What I
So
heard of that
Greg
stack of
and-
Bibles, no, because I haven't talked to Jim about it, but that's what I've heard. So yeah.
so it's with Jim and Greg to
That's-
look at.
Yes, that's our understanding.
Yeah.
And then well, and then they'll go through the drainage board and make sure everything's okay, or is it just gonna?
Pretty much the surveyor.
Okay,
I think it'd probably go Greg and Jim to here, or Greg to Jim back to Brandon if need be, and then to here.
Take that attitude to Brandon?
Right.
okay.
Are we anticipating anything like that? I guess you haven't really.
One document, probably not much, because Brandon's kind of taking care of that, what the instruction, what do they
Yeah,
call
the
it?
technical
The
standards.
technical standards.
God, yeah, I have no
That might
idea.
take a while, so.
Okay. Okay, good. So that, and so we'll just keep that there for now. And then, yeah, we'll get a report back from Jim. Stormwater ordinance, same situation, right?
Floodplain.
Yeah,
We
just talked about
Reduce it.
stormwater.
I'm sorry, you're right.
No, they
skipped.
flip them on the screen.
I thought we were talking about floodplain too. So
We're
they're
gonna
both
go
the
back to the
same.
other one, we'll go back to track.
The floodplain is with Brandon. isn't it?
Yeah, with Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay,
So now we're on to ordinance update / AFO ordinance, which is covered under ordinance updates.
okay. So and again, we have two items there, but we can.
Yeah.
But they're the same.
But what's the
They're both
floodplain?
with Brandon.
Well,
And Greg.
The stormwater is with Jim and Greg. And then the floodplain is with Brandon.
Brandon's the attorney.
Correct.
Correct.
And it-
And the state has been absolutely silent.
That's awesome.
I haven't heard a word from them.
That's awesome.
And I think
They're
everybody's.
hiding from everybody.
Whatever word, I thought I scared them, but.
Okay, so we've got ordinance updates, but we're gonna start with the AFO ordinance draft, okay? So, and I guess if we want to, do we want to do a recap from, just get everybody back up to speed, or Karen, do you want to take over?
I mean, I don't have a problem with what has been presented. The only thing that I would like was the, under C, the number 4, a manure management plan shall be submitted in compliance with all state requirements. Because you're gonna have to have one anyways. If they came to your door, you have to have something that says, what are you gonna do with your manure?
Right.
It's not my responsibility to tell you what to do with your manure because I'm not in the job to do it. It's the state to do it, not me. So, and it isn't for the staff to do that either. So
So you like the way it's worded, or you?
Yeah.
Or you-
I like it.
Okay.
But, and that's kind of what I was looking for, just, because I mean, you brought, the point up, but we all, I think as a board last time, and correct me if I'm wrong, we questioned as to, okay, who's in charge of that?
The state chemist.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we know that if, it's not up to, to you in the office or, code enforcement to look at the plan, they just have to have a plan and we can refer to that plan.
Yeah.
If
and so this is my view on it, is that the state defines it as a confined feeding. We're the only ones that are defining it as the animal feeding, which is more restrictive. So if the state only requires them for confined feeding, they're probably not going to require anything for an AFO. The state is not going to require anything for an AFO.
I was gonna ask, can they get something stamped?
Okay,
No
but-
matter what?
I guess mine was because Kevin said that say there's a complaint. They pull up into somebody's property and it is less than what a confined feeding is. That if they find a problem with you, then they're gonna slap you into the confined feeding, even though you're below the amount.
Correct.
So that's what, I mean, I'm just saying, no matter what, I don't care if you have 20 animals, you're gonna have to figure out, what are you gonna do with your manure?
Right, because
So-
if a complaint is submitted, then yes, then you're going to have to go to the CFO program anyway.
Right, so that's where I just kind of put that wording, so then it falls back to the state chemist. I can't say you have too big of a pile, or you didn't cover it in time, or anything like that. That's kind of why I put it that way. So then that way it goes back to them. It's not us.
No, that makes
My
sense.
question.
Yeah.
Is if someone submits something to the state and it's not technically under the state and there isn't a complaint open, is the state gonna do anything with it? Is it going to stamp it and send it back, or is it like when you submit something to the court when you shouldn't and it's just there on record?
They have,
Move forward.
Right.
right, I mean,
Until they get something from the state, so that's kind of where.
So, but are we setting them up for something that they can accomplish?
I believe so. I mean, and I'm going
That's my question.
Yeah,
So
so-
they'll get something stamped and back from the state. The state will respond.
Right.
Because often if it isn't something, my experience with government, if it's not something that they should be getting, they just don't respond.
Right, well, and so, and we can go back and cover a little history, so when all this was, our subcommittee, and then Kevin saying, he recommended that we're not doing something more restrictive, we're just better defining. So that, that for the and with the AFO, that we're adding that, so that again, that kind of eliminates.
But you're asking for them to provide it.
Well, they have to have it.
They have to
just-
have it, but they have to show that they've given it to the state, right? They can't just give you one and say, I submitted this to the state.
Well, and then if they lie and we find out that there wasn't one submitted to the state, then there is trouble. I mean,
Or it's compliant with those state standards, and then if it ends up like, hey, this manure is a violation, and the state goes, hey, you're gonna be regulated as a CFO, then it would obviously not meet their standards and would be.
So it's more about just having the plan, not necessarily filing.
correct.
Right.
Correct. That was my clarification. Were we asking them to do something that they're not gonna get back?
Right,
from us
state's
because
gonna be
they're
like,
gonna
we don't
fi- they're gonna be
care.
like, we don't.
Right, exactly.
So they're gonna submit the plan with the permit, regardless of whether or not it's stamped, and then and then they're gonna follow their own rules unless they get hit with
With the complaint.
Right, and again, that's where Kevin said, he goes, yeah, this is more work for, a farm operation to have it, but he'd rather have that than there be an open question that was, that we.
And if they're
that
just
was
following their own
people-
rules for now, then it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so often people, if you have them fill something out, they think there's something more malicious to it. I think I made up a word, but.
No, but again, so I do, again, thanks Karen, but what came from Kevin initially out of, a series of complaints about, the confined feeding operations, I think this gives us something that, so they really can't work underneath that definition.
And you two agree with this? You guys have been here. You were here when all that happened. We weren't here when all that happened.
I guess my only concern with this is that once again, we're putting in ordinances that we can't enforce.
Wait till you see the anti-phone.
I'm just, we're just setting ourselves up, I feel like, for failure here, but I mean, I'm all for a more restrictive plan, but to be quite honest with you, I mean, we can't enforce it, so we're back to.
We do have the cart a little bit in front of the horse, I think, but part of that's gonna be up on the next few years of our plan of presenting certain things at the council to expand code enforcement so we can start, because we've got a lot of holes in our ordinances where we can't enforce.
I agree.
And we need more staff, we need more money, we need more.
And that was kind of what we were thinking, is that this is gonna push.
That's really the idea.
that, you know, again, if this becomes an issue because more farmers are moving to this direction, that it gives the ability for them to ask for more code enforcement. You know, and get it till it's stabilized again.
So let me use a real life example. Somebody comes to me and they say, hey, my neighbors, they've got 100 cows at their house. They're on their 10 acres they didn't have yesterday. What's going on and what can I do about it? You know, if all of that is accurate, go to the state is what I would have, is what we will tell them, right? What we're going to tell them.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then, you know, they should submit it, or they have to have a plan, you know, to how do they take care of the manure for those cows. And then that sets the whole process in motion if they're in compliance or not.
So I'm getting calls from customers saying, I'm going to be doing this. Am I covered? Oh, well, you're like, insurance, yeah, no problem. But this hat that I'm wearing today, I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
But I mean, but then the other issue is if they're afraid of any enforcement happening, they'll move them out after 44 days.
And I think we're already, I think, I can't prove it because, you know, they're gone. I think that's happening already. So I don't know that it's 44 days, but we're getting complaints and showing up and there's no cows.
Yep.
So either people are just straight up making up the cow complaints, which I doubt, or they're moving them rather frequently.
I don't own them.
Right. Yeah, they're
Almost
just,
none of them own them. They're just feeding them.
And usually it's a 90-day, right? Is that what we heard when we started this? Is that they're
there was
usually?
a date and I think I ran it by Kevin and Kevin's like, here's why it's that number of days or what. Yeah, I don't remember what it was. But yeah, we had that discussion previously.
You know,
Well, and not, sorry. So, I mean, as we move forward and we progress into, as opposed to being a complaint-driven county and to actually having a code enforcement where it's a, you know, they could legitimately drive by and see a complaint stop, whereas now, I mean, you can drive down any road and see a complaint within, you know, an eyesight of the road and, you know, there has to be a complaint, right? So if we're moving in that direction, right, we would hope that those would stop or
So
decrease.
are you saying how it's written now? If they're out and they see a violation, they can't just stop and deal with it?
Oh, we can.
They can, but they
We really
typically
have
don't because they
force.
never go home. They just stay out and go for
Yeah.
You
complaints.
gotta put the
Yeah.
blinders on, because we're full up with that, with doing complaint-driven basis. Yeah, it's nonstop.
And even more so when you do have complaints and you have valid complaints, to be able to have the resources to send people out and find these people are, I mean, especially at lakes, you know, like most of your violations are weekend, you know, I'm not saying most of your, but there are violations of people who are weekenders that are only there on the weekends. And so you may go to their door and knock every Friday or every Monday and never catch them, and they're there Saturday and Sunday. So.
Yeah, we got one person that's doing like 2 or 3 different kinds of inspections while also doing complaints, while also doing like letters and phone calls and like handling the complaint day-to-day basis. It's just one code enforcement person. While they're doing like, hey, anytime there's a new foundation for it, they go out and inspect that. Anytime there's a final for the planning department, they would go out and do that as well. And there's, I mean, typically during the summer, we're pretty packed.
Yeah, that's why I only hear like once a month about a bad sign placement.
Jesus.
Yeah, but she's doing
Yes.
nice.
She's not like signs.
I'm picking them up before they get run over by a lawnmower.
Oh, and she's very busy.
Yeah.
I will say that she's very busy and she gets a lot done.
We appreciate that. Okay, so we kind of jumped through that, but that was the one I think that we needed to get through quickly. So do we want to make a motion to send this then to the commissioners for approval? Is that the next step?
I would love that. I think that's what, I'm ready for that, right? We talked about that today. I think so.
The only change that's been made to this since we first introduced this has been that addition that Karen, which I think we made a motion at the last meeting to at least to discuss that. So that looks good then.
Well, it wasn't tabled though.
No, it was to go over it and then
That's
I told- I told ask the question.
Catch up on, so that's why we held it from the last meeting.
Okay, yeah, you're absolutely right, Cole. Thank you. Okay, so then I'll entertain a motion to approve the AFO ordinance update as a recommendation for approval to the commissioners. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, so we're moved by Colt, second by Karen.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion on the recommendation to the commission? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Recommendation is made. Okay. So, thank you, everybody. So that now, will the commissioners ask for us to participate in that at all?
Usually, not unless unless there's something they're missing or don't understand, and that would take two of them, so.
But once again, we're forwarding these on just for clarification with a positive recommendation.
Correct.
As opposed to just no recommendation.
Right, correct.
Okay. So let's move back up. So road front setback.
That was something that was kind of brought up at the BZA. Landon brought it up at one point, that we get asked a lot of roadside setbacks, and it's usually like, hey, 20 feet, 22 feet, 21.5 feet. So what I've got here, your guys' packet, is residential districts, ag and EC, manufactured districts, and chapter 11 have had their roadside setback changed to 20 feet.
So they're all consistent then?
Correct.
Okay.
Instead of 25.
The only ones that are not would be industrial and general business, or just business districts and industrial districts. That's the ones that have not changed. The others would change. And this wouldn't affect ag structures. That would still be a 40-foot road front setback. So ag and EC zoning, this is for, typically it would be like a residential structure.
It's 20, I mean, I just asked, is that what you're shooting for? or-
No, I think at 20 is a hard number unless you can prove a hardship. I think you can go for a hardship variance or, come in for a hardship, but I think ultimately, we've seen a number of these that have been 21 and a half, 22 and a half, 23, I think but it's a hard cutoff. And I think part of that falls back on the BZA to determine whether or not there's an actual hardship. Now, granted, we see these where we have just really awkward confining spaces, street orientation, lot location, all that kind of stuff. And there are a few exceptions, but I think if you stop it at 20, unless there's mitigating circumstances that would,
Like that cul-de-sac where.
correct.
Which probably should have never been there, but it was. And
Correct.
We did a 1 foot setback on that one, I think.
The traveled road and platted road.
Travel road.
Yeah. I remember thinking that when they applied for that, you don't have a chance. And then we went out there, I'm like, wow, yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so there are certainly those, but these, and like I said, once again, it falls back because I think the BZA had here in the last 6 months has historically just been like stamping yes on a lot of these. And if we have a hard number that we go to and say, it's 20, and we leave it at that unless there's something way atypical, i.e. that.
Yeah. And what I will say, I don't know if it's by design or just human nature. A lot of times when we do something like this, the board really does put the clamps on and say, okay, we gave you an extra 5 feet. Let's not now make it 15 the standard. They've done a real good job of policing that.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Will you just, I'm so sorry. Go back, explain what the ordinance is and what we're talking about houses in residential areas.
So this
So
is,
right now it's 25 feet and we're talking about taking it back to 20 feet.
that's your road
Is that
front,
right?
it's your road front setback and that's measured from the road right away, which we also find is different. Sometimes it's pinned in the middle of the road, sometimes it's pinned on the edge of the road, as far as where your property starts and the road right away starts.
Okay.
Typically, as it was before, or as it was currently, as it is currently, it's 25 feet from the road right away. So meaning if you want to build a structure, you have to be 25 foot back from that road right away.
Okay.
What we see in the BZA is that there's been a number of variances for 21, 22, 23, and that 20 to 25. Now you will get the atypical 0 or 6 feet setback, request from the BZA, and some of them go through because of logistical issues where it's odd, and others get denied because they're just too close. Yes, it is too, and there are a lot of, but the lakes are where we run into those. You don't see them very. So
Yeah, no, so my only thing about taking it away another 5 foot, are we distorting even more water? I came
Back
from,
from water.
huh?
It would pull it back from.
No, displacing it down a hill or
I see what
onto
you're saying.
someone
I thought you were talking
else.
about lake. Never mind. Yep.
Main thing is the coverages would still stay the same. So where your 35% building coverage and 50% pervious coverage would stay the same, they could just have more room to play with that coverage. That would be the only thing. So it's not like we're actually increasing the amount of space that they can put on the lot. It's just we're increasing the area where they can put the structure. That makes sense.
It does. I'm sorry, I'm just curious about that. I own a cottage at a cottage at the bottom of a hill. And they keep putting monsters and monsters up the hill and they just keep displacing more water down onto us. And so and a hardship isn't, I can't live in 1800s.
No, I don't disagree with that. And I don't know, and maybe this doesn't solve the issue, or maybe it doesn't slow it down. I mean,
I think with this, with the stormwater ordinance we're working on, and at some point, we probably will address impervious surface. I think we're just holding off those stormwater things, so we know what to do. So just for argument's sake, cut that 35 back to 30 and that 50 back to 45 or 40. Is it gonna be perfect? Absolutely not. We build monsters and they've been building monsters for years, but it should limit that. And I think they'll be stormwater oriented when they're approving or denying variance in the future based upon these three things we've got going on. So it's kind of all gonna work together, hopefully.
Okay, I mean, that's one of the biggest things that comes through our office too, with neighbors fighting about water.
I know where you're at, so yeah.
No,
It's
and
intense.
I agree with you. And I think that those are then going to be discussions, about impermeable surface and all that, we'll get more feedback as to, what that, where does the drainage plan look like? Where does that water gonna go? And they have to answer that.
Yes, that's all I think that
Yeah,
we should
okay.
protect. It's just, it causes issues. And I know that sounded self-serving, but there isn't anything there now. I'm just saying, I know that it's an
I
issue.
agree.
Well,
We have
I
to update
brought
that.
up about the impervious surface, that we need to lower it.
Yes.
It's meaning that they can't have as much cement, so then we push it off onto the neighbors. So I wanna bring it down to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, some of them.
Because 50% is astronomical on a lake.
And we need to address the 8-inch rule.
And then you can do the 8 inches of concrete wherever, and you don't have to worry about that, because you can do it after you get your permit and you get your fine.
Yeah,
So-
it'll be further addressed. I mean.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. I was just,
Several more.
I agree. No, and
I want to understand.
no, I get, and I think, in a lot of these, what we see is that when they're going to pull permits for backlot garages or something like that, where their garage is actually further out and they're pulling them back, but they still now have to comply by the 20, like when you're redoing a structure, you're tearing down a structure, a lot of them, at least from what I can remember, they're actually increasing their setbacks, but they're still in that 20 to 25 range, but they're making it better than because their current garage or their current house is
12 feet.
Yeah, it's 12 feet. And they do a survey and they realize that the road right of way is in a different spot, but they want to shift things back, but they're still in that 20 to 25 range. And so we've seen a lot of those where, they come in and they present their plans and that's actually a better layout, a better location than what they currently have. But because they're non-conforming and they're doing whatever the 50% rule now or however that works out, they're required to go through the PZA process. So.
And we're eliminating a number of variances then. I mean, no, and that's what the process is. BZA is, if the BZA keeps getting hit with these, and it should come to us with, as an ordinance change, which I agree with.
My concern is on the other side, on the ag side, because this is gonna be a countywide thing. A lot of I don't know what our right of ways are out on most county roads, if they're the edge of the road or center of the road. But if you only have 20 feet off the center of the road, that's only 10 feet off that you can start building buildings. I can't see around in a semi or a tractor that way.
No, it has to stay out of the yellow. So even if we go to the center, we still start from the right of way.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so bad around the lakes, because your property can be here and the road's over here. So out in the country, when you light up a road right away, it goes 20 foot each side of center line. So we'd be starting from that. So it'd be 40 foot.
Okay.
So dirty little secret, it's basically 40 foot or 20 foot from the telephone poles. So the telephone poles, you look for some survey tape or a nail or a spike in there, and that's usually 99% of the time or more where it's at. You go 20. Now we go 25 from that, it'd be 20 from that.
So instead of 45 from center, it'd be 40.
Can somebody push you and say, legally it has to be from,
But the way we have it worded, it is off the right of way, not off the property line. But yes, I think you're right, because I own in the middle of the road, and I've had people call me and tell me they're gonna put up toll booths, and I'm like, I go right ahead. I don't do with toll booths, so yeah.
no, but mine is, I can understand if we do things a certain way, but I was just curious if the legal aspect backed that up.
Yeah.
Just because you'll get that one.
We get a lot of them.
That
Well,
one.
you're
Hey,
still,
sitting right here, waiting.
you're still out of the road right away. It's just a minimum. That's a county requirement. I don't know what was the cow?
Well, we did it different. We went to the middle of the road and then added that to the setback, and that was your number. So if you were supposed to be 50 foot from center line, we'd go out there and measure, and if it was a 20-foot right of way, then your setback became 30 off the right of way, rather than, so it was never stagnant like it is here.
That almost makes more sense.
Which, it does make more sense unless you have a lake, because then you never know where the roads are supposed to be, that kills.
Well, that's a thing,
Travel route are two different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Okay, well, yeah,
exactly.
if it was a horse path, and then somebody, oh, it's easier to put blacktop here.
Yeah, but out in the county, the whole doing the math thing was better.
Okay.
It was pretty, because you just go to the yellow line, you don't have to worry about right away, you just do math. 55 from the center line, okay, that's what it's gotta be.
And I had a question, what is a hardship in that discussion then?
Well, I think once where we see like this cul-de-sac, that was a cul-de-sac, but the property, the reason there was a cul-de-sac, a platted cul-de-sac was because everybody's property lines were pie shaped. And so they left that so that they would have access to it. But when they did that, they ended up putting
They just put more.
Okay.
and so it's very,
Instead of,
You just have to have a,
So they were like 35, 40 foot off the road.
Yeah.
In reality, but technically, when they came to us, it was 1 foot.
Yeah, okay, that was when you showed me the aerial.
Yeah.
No, which, I mean,
And actually, the next vacation that's going in front of you guys is someone that is the same exact situation, except he owns 2 parcels of that pie shaped whatever, to where he wants to just vacate the cul-de-sac where his driveway is. So he wants to vacate like half of the platted cul-de-sac with his property. That's basically what he's asking for.
but it wouldn't affect his setback though from,
Oh, it would, because he wanted to add on to his garage, but his garage is like right to the cul-de-sac. So it was go for a variance or go for a vacation, which we told him about the vacation, and that's what he would rather go for.
and he left
oh,
Florida.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
First time in what, 5
Hey,
years since
this is gonna be the 3rd vacation this
Third
year.
vacation. Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I have to have 400 neighbors. Signatures from everyone. Sorry, we digress.
Okay, so again, I'll entertain a motion to recommend the measurement change as an ordinance update to the commissioners.
I will make that motion to approve as stated.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Then I do have a question.
okay, moved and seconded and discussion, go ahead, Lynn.
Clint, how soon does that go into effect?
After the commissioners adopted 30 days.
well, yes. Well, it depends on what the commissioners do. They can set a date when it,
Oh,
the ordinance, when it becomes effective.
Okay, but it's not as if it would have to go through like next year, this could be something that would be, the changes that we're making approved by the commissioners would go forth this year.
Yes, unless they wanted, like, not just unless they wanted to retain them, I don't know why they would. But
They have before, but
That would not,
just make it effective.
That's all I'm worried about.
Look at it.
No,
Okay, a good question. Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Recommendation is move forward to commissioners. Okay? Okay. I don't know much about the anti-funneling day use no overnight docking.
it's relatively new. It's absolutely new. I talked to Commissioner Laughlin, and he said, hey, have we ever discussed or entertained this as an idea? Right now, we have the old rule that came out of the old ordinance, which was 44C. Now it's, I know the old one. Anyway, we have to have the 150-20 rule. What Andy was saying is he has friends and stuff in other states, like Tennessee, I think he gave for example. And instead of having the 150-20 rule, where like right now, I think some concern is maybe a development is double dipping, where they're putting docks out front of common area and then putting the common area docks in other common area. This would kind of eliminate that. So what it would do is reduce the amount of shoreline you needed for backlot development, limit it to maybe, he said maybe 100 foot down there would be the common area, 100 foot wide. So if everybody wanted their own docks, and then we would do the math based upon that one ramp, and it's an in and out only. So it'd be a day use. So rather than have 150-20 where you've got this whole shoreline and all these massive docks, let the lakefront people have their docks, whatever the formula would be for them. This is just for discussion tonight. I prefer if we went farther, Andy would be here, because I kind of thought he'd be here. I forgot he wasn't going to be here. So right now we're at the 30,000 foot view of maybe if we do something like that, maybe if the numbers crunch, and then limit them to that. Again, as Landon brought up before, enforcement. I don't know how we're gonna force boats sitting on a dock overnight. It's gonna have to be on the HOA or something like that. And we're gonna have to ding them if it's something, we're gonna have to find a way. But right now, I don't know that answer. Maybe that'll come as part of this discussion as we move forward. Maybe the county will wanna pay for me to go to stay in a Airbnb for a week down in Tennessee and I'll just use it and see what happens. I don't know, but yeah, this is just an initial discussion to start and say, okay, it'd be a rather drastic change, but it would be fundamentally different from what is being complained about currently. Not saying this wouldn't open up a new can of worms because we haven't dealt with it yet, but it's something.
How's this any different from putting a marina in?
Well, I'd fall into that definition as well. But it would be day use only, because right now, if you can have 30 docks, they can stay, the boats can stay there all the time with a 30 slip. Now they couldn't have a 30 dock slip out there. We'd say, okay.
Or could they just have to have all the boats out at night?
They'd have to have all the boats at night, yes.
Okay, my question is each boat is registered to somebody.
Mhm.
There's where you find out who it is and you find them.
Yeah, but I,
Let
I
me,
mean-
because I know what Andy's referring to and because I know who he's referring to. So essentially what it is say you have a subdivision that's on a river or a lake or whatever body of water. Everybody's property that touches the water owns that piece of the shoreline. That's a deeded piece of property that goes within what they can put out their community pier. Now, in a subdivision of say 100 houses where you only have 10 of them that are on waterfront, but you have 99 houses or 90 houses behind them, what they do is they do a community pier where it's only 3 or 4 spots. It's not 50 boat spots that allows those people to drop their boat in, use their boat for the day, and then they pull it out at night. So it's a access point associated with only that subdivision, more so like a boat launch for the subdivision with 3 temporary parking spots. In all reality, it's more of a pain for the backlot people because, they have to pull their boats in and out, but you would eliminate having this, there would be no more of this community 150, that are community piers unless you wanted to apply specifically for something like that. You wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have 200 boat slips for a 100 house subdivision.
isn't what we have right now the states? I thought,
Not the 150/20, but we do rely upon the state to approve the docks. So like if we might approve it, it's up to the boards, but they might approve it anyway, and then the DNR might come back and say, no, we're shutting you down, you can't have the docks. So we would allow the access. So in that instance, we'd allow the ramp possibly, but we wouldn't allow any boat slips because the DNR said that would fix it.
Right, that would require them to take the boats out.
so the 100, the 50, the 20, the 20, that's just us, we made that up?
And I don't want to backstory on that because like I said, that was the old ordinance. Now I know it's been tested in court because of the Wallbridge lawsuit. The coves used to have like a 50-foot wide thing and they put a bunch of boat slips out there and then docked a rowboat in each one and took a picture of it to state use, saying, hey, it's been established use. And that we won that in court. So
That's going back to the.
that's like 04, 05. Yeah.
2020, 2015.
Yeah.
Like there's projects that he was working on. Main one where my house is now is the original funnel spot.
Oh,
So it's awesome.
okay, so Andy, is he gonna come up with, like a diagram? I guess.
He just brought it up to me and said, hey, you want to start discussing? I don't know what else he had because I hadn't really seen him. I forgot he wasn't going to be here tonight. So I might not even put this on if I known he wasn't going to be here tonight because I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
It's one of those, if I can find it, do you know the place? I mean, is there somewhere I can call? Is it a county? Is it their own rule? Is it a subdivision rule? Is it a Tennessee rule? I don't know exactly.
So dealing with what we're dealing with, I mean, they would have no interest in something like that. I can't imagine. I mean, that's completely taking away what they're arguing is the value add to those properties.
Oh, it's a huge difference. And what are you gonna do with the places that already have
Community shots.
community docks?
We don't go backwards.
We don't go backwards, we only
It'd be
go
not
forward.
conforming, so it wouldn't matter, but what the place is referring to, I think it's river. So it's an exit to the subdivision of the river. So it's a little bit different than a lake, I guess, but, I don't know, I mean, we went through this in Steuben County when we were on Big Long Lake and the DNR and the funneling issue, and they came back and said, everybody, divide the number of houses by the amount of space that you have in front of them, and that's what you get. And so
That's the state rule.
but with the requirement that you had to have 15 foot to put boat lift or a pier out. And that's where, you said, okay, well, if you have 200 foot of frontage and you have 20 boats, everybody gets 10 foot. Either you go in with your neighbor and you combine and you use one pier for that 20 foot or however you want to do it, but you guys solve it on your own. And that's where they left that. So, I mean, everybody does it a little different and they're all.
Yeah, I think this is a good jumping off point to get us outside the box, because I mean, up till Andy mentioned that to me, I was stuck with the 150/20, just crunching numbers in my head. I think we still have to have something like that, because we can't give everybody that has 100 foot of lake frontage carte blanche to funnel all the stuff. That is the reverse of an anti-funneling. That's a pro-funneling rule. So we'd also have to have some kind of formula that goes with it. But now, here's where we're at, and then we got something way over here. So wherever discussion leads us, I think to me, it opened my eyes to, hey, there are different ways to doing stuff. If we could limit it to 100 foot of common area only, rather than let everybody eat up their shoreline and put out those big docks, okay, that's a positive. Couple of the other things, like Elena said, it's on a river, so it may not be apples to apples. There may be some negatives there that we're gonna have to hammer out, but it's something.
I mean, the one that came in front of us, something simple to start with is if you have common area in front of you, if your property line doesn't hit the water, you don't get a pier. Right?
Isn't that
like?
the board would decide? Yeah, I think that'd be a easy decision.
That was the issue
special.
Electric, right? I mean, when he was doing all that, right?
It was, I mean, that's when they defined it, and that's when they put these rules into place.
There were
It
properties that
was,
didn't actually.
well, it was the HUD that we just approved, all of that property was going to, the sidewalks are still there, going up to across the road from me, and they were gonna put all the piers and pile out all the docks.
But there are neighborhoods, and I can think of one on Jefferson, that they own a ramp and they all have their docks, but they let other people that are visiting them use that ramp and put, boats in. But then, they don't stay there. They're not, they're there either overnight or over the weekend or for a
So the
weekend.
problem they find is the neighbors then start stacking their docks, their boats on their neighbors that have the docks.
Exactly. That's
We
funny.
got 5-6 boats on one.
Yeah, and we have a rule for that too. The problem is we don't have a boat to drive around and enforce it. Yeah, we have that rule that makes it a marina, and technically would fall under a special exception. But again, with the transient nature of our people, and I think a lot of Airbnbs are coming in.
We have issues with the one next to us.
You're
They
just
like to bring
flow
in
and
two
flow and
boats
flow.
and they're like this far from my pier. I'm like, dude, there's a riparian zone there. You can't have your
I think
there.
maybe Don, I don't know, Don, if you would know that or not, but I think that by law, it has to be the property, the boats that are parked at your pier have to be the registered owner of the property.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, you can't just, I had this conversation with the DNR officer years ago, and that's why I'm not 100% sure, but it appeared, from my recollection, it was, there was a certain amount of time, no different than a vacated car or an abandoned car sitting outside, that you had a certain amount of time that you could have a boat parked at your pier. However, over 72 hours or whatever it was, that you can't just park random people's boats at your pier. They by law have to be registered to the homeowner. And I don't know if that's still accurate.
No, and that just happened at the boat show. People were parking boats on people's piers in preparation for the boat show. But they had said you can only do it, it was like
For a short
for
term,
a short term, yeah.
yes.
But it had to be registered. And then the registration has to match the hull number and all that. I mean,
I think they were doing that just for the show and
Yeah,
order to
probably.
enforce it.
Yeah, with a number. Mike, I think Mike just said, I want everybody asking to get right now. Okay, so yeah, so I mean, I guess there are some.
Conversation is wanting to start to talk about how we deal with all the boats ending up on our water.
Well, theoretically, everyone in the state of Indiana has the right to be on Lake James Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m.
Right.
But they can't park their boat at anybody's pier legal for an extended period of time.
That would be true.
So I think that's where I think this starts a conversation of maybe there's other options out there, but I think we're in the midst of one that's gonna probably determine how a lot of things get settled once a judgment is made. So I don't know that we do anything, I mean, certainly we can look into this and I know I have a good idea who he's discussing or who he's like the foundation of what he's coming from, so.
Yeah, let's make them test, let's have them.
A lot of that's coming from riverboats going down though. You build too big of a dock and you're gonna get taken out by a barge on a river.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Chris lives up, I'm not sure if the person he's talking about lives on A lake. That's turbulence on a lake or a river, but certainly we can find out more information, or at least figure out where it's at and try to find some background on it to see if it would be at all helpful.
Okay. Well, I think just then, the message that I gathered from this is that, Andy should make a presentation to us and give diagrams and pictures or, so that we can discuss it, because we represent, I think everybody's got, kind of some skin in this game, just from an understanding standpoint.
And it's something much like lakefront setback at some point, much like the impervious surface. This is something we're gonna have to deal with at some point. I mean, the 150-20 rule did work really well for a long time. I mean, it was, I don't even know how long, Tom, were you here? It was before me, I know that. It was before this most recent version of the ordinance. So it's at least 25, 30 years old.
I was saying, 21 or 22, or 2001, 2002, something like that.
Okay, so we'll move on. The 300-foot accessory structure requirement?
Yeah, the other two things are kind of like the anti-bundling, just for discussion, mainly to kickstart any discussion. We've gotten a couple of variances last year, and we got a couple more this year. It's required that in residential districts, you have to have a parcel within 300 feet of another parcel before you can build an accessory structure. And that, I mean, we're running into more people wanting to buy different properties to build, like, hey, this is Kidney's Landing, I want to build my garage here, but well, hey, you're 600 feet, so they've got to go for a variance to get that particular property. And a lot of these backlots that were originally going to be more than likely accessory buildings are being sold and built as homes now. They're just homes with garage below or things like that. So, yeah, everywhere. So that was just something that we discussed in the office. We had some variances last year, some variances this year, that it's like, hey, is this something we want to bring up for discussion? Is this relevant anymore? Do we want to increase the setback? Do we want to make it like, a suggestion was like property owned in the county before you can build an accessory structure, things like that.
And that's, when I was here before, and that's why I don't have a personal opinion. You can make it 1 foot, you can make it 5,000 foot. And when I was here before, you had to have property in the subdivision. And I don't think you have to do that anymore. You can be outside the subdivision, but within 300 feet.
What if it doesn't fall within a subdivision? I know that, and I mean, I
If
see
it
a lot
doesn't
of,
fall within a subdivision, then all you have to do is meet the setback for a primary structure. You can build a garage out in the country on 2 acres, but you have to meet the setbacks as if it was a house.
but you also have, it has to be a residence. So we can just, I mean.
You put barns out in the ag country and stuff like that, accessory buildings.
So it's just an accessory building, but then you're saying that we're gonna define it as to be only a accessory, structure. It can't be a barn dominium.
I think what they don't want you to do, I think, or again, this another one that predates my time even before I was here last time. What they don't want you to do is buy up, I think stuff in Kidney's Landing was very inexpensive back in early 2000s, the backlots. I mean, you got stuff out on Orland Road that's 1,000,000 miles from the lake, basically. That stuff was really inexpensive. And the reason I bring up Kidney's Landing is it seemed like when I was here, 03 to 06, it was always Kidney's Landing where they wanted to do this. So people from outside the county or outside the lake area or outside of Kidney's Landing were wanting to buy up those lots and build garages. Probably to sell them to people eventually inside Kidney's Landings, which would have gotten around this, but that's not what we were being presented with. So the rule was before you had to live in said subdivision in order to build a garage in said subdivision. Probably ran into some trouble with that, with people saying, okay, well, I'm so close, it's a lot next to me, but I'm not in the subdivision, why can't I build? That's probably when they came up with the 300-foot. And again, it probably worked for a long time, but now that we're building out, like we're saying, with garages with houses on top and stuff like that, when you're looking at strict accessory structures, we either need to extend it and say, okay, if you live in the county, you can have one, or maybe you have to have a house in the subdivision. I don't know. It's just discussion because we're getting the variances, we're getting the questions.
Well, and I guess a couple of years ago when the backlots on those Crooked Lake lanes, property owners were close, but they weren't necessarily right behind. But I mean, a football field, that's a long way away.
So, I guess I'm confused here because can I just go buy a piece of property on the side of the road and put an accessory structure on it?
If it's not zoned residential or in a subdivision, then yes.
If it's ag.
Yes.
But you have to have it just has to be zoned ag, and you don't have, there's no limitations as far as setbacks and everything.
You would have to meet your setbacks,
I
yeah.
guess I was always under the assumption that it was, like, if you wanted to do that, it would have to be a residence. You'd have to have.
You have to meet the setbacks as if you were a resident. They
Okay.
call it a primary
Yes.
structure. So the rules would kind of change, but the actual structure and use itself would not.
You can't have an accessory structure if you don't have a primary structure. So whatever structure is on there, it's only one structure. It's the primary
That's the
structure.
primary structure, yeah.
So you're on the lake, you're in residential, you have a house. Cause I think I misunderstood you, or maybe you just said it in a way that it's contradicting what I think. So my house, if I buy a lot and want to build a blank lot, and want to put a accessory structure on it, that lot has to be within 300 feet of my house.
Even if you're
Not
gonna say
just
subdivision.
because you said parcel, so not necessarily just an empty parcel that I own.
Well, how we've always done it, it would be the parcel of the primary parcel is how we've measured, to where if you have a, yeah, well, with a dwelling.
Dwelling.
So let's say you got a lakefront house and you buy a parcel that is 300 feet away, but it's zoned, yeah, exactly.
That's what's weird is even if you own in the subdivision and you're over 300 feet, you can't.
Well, that doesn't have one baby on the other side of the road.
That's right across the street.
What's on my neighbor way down? How?
Is maybe the back lot on the other side of the road aren't plotted as subdivision lots, they maybe eight pounds.
So either that or they
I'm sorry.
sell that lot and then your neighbor
That's what
goes
I'm saying, or
buy.
your neighbor does it and they, yeah, because it's under their name, I'm sure they've changed hands a lot.
I was just curious. I'm sorry. Maybe when you guys talk, sometimes I think, well, I've seen that
One of those
there.
jumping off points, yeah.
No, I mean, there's examples of it. I mean, or you see them.
I was just talking
Just-
about all those garages that are on the other side of the road. I know one is owned down by somebody that lives by me. So there's no way that's within 300 feet. So how did that happen? He said maybe it's not a subdivision.
The most recent one we had a guy buy, because Buena Vista's got a ton of backlots that are undeveloped. So we've got one guy that was like 1,100 feet away because he had a lakefront property on Jimerson. He needed a backlot garage. There's no backlot anywhere near him. So he bought Buena Vista and he goes, hey, I'm going to build a garage. We're like, you're not within 300 feet. So he had to get a variance just because, even though he met all of his setbacks, all of his coverages, everything like that, just to build a garage because it was not within 300.
But is that there to protect the other homeowners? So they don't end up looking at a garage
I believe
instead of
so, yeah.
another home,
I mean, I
If
think
you don't
it's
have a
their
primary
protection.
structure, that's going to reduce, property.
right?
Let's say a developer came in that does got condo garages, I'm not gonna use any names, we got one in the room. Let's say he just wanted to buy a 10, 20 cheap Buena Vista lots and he's got nice buildings. I wouldn't mind probably living where the next one is, so that's a bad example, but let's just say somebody finds.
I just wanted to see where this was gonna go.
Somebody says, "I'm gonna buy 20 cheap way back Buena Vista lots and build 20 garages, that's what I think they're trying to protect against.
That's fine. I understood it.
So you
Right,
basically
'cause
would
I
be
mean-
permitting by not permitting a condo garage, you've just permitted condo garages.
But then do we have other rules about, indoor plumbing and water access?
You can have the plumbing, you can have living space, you
Right,
can
right.
have a second story, you can have a second story, that's basically what attic space store, what do we call it?
Yeah, attic
Attic
space.
space.
So you're proposing getting rid of it? The 300 foot?
No,
The
we
way you
just
wanna go.
discussed.
I mean, it's one of the, we're just discussing it right now because we've had a lot of questions, issues, variances. Like I said to Charlie, they can make it 1,000 feet, they can make it 1 feet, they can make it back to the hole, you have to live in the subdivision. I don't really care where this goes. I think it's one of those we just need to clean up, however we clean it up.
And okay, so then I guess, are we seeing a spike in, people wanting to build or have property here? I mean, and again, if interest rates drop, it's gonna go crazy.
I don't know if you call it a spike, but it's been steady. Yes, it's been constant.
I mean, so more people want to be
I
here.
would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, so this gets ahead of that, so that you don't have people, building random,
Things,
storage
right?
locations.
Well, and if we're forward thinking our communities, we want homes that we're taxing,
Right.
not
If these
just
are
a bunch
all-
of garages.
If these are all backlots anyway, then I guess if they wanted to build some superstructure, they'd have to come to us to combine all these anyway.
Well, and then there's other rules that, the plumbing that, I know that those are rules that help restrict, so you're just not building, a garage, you can park your RV in and live it,
That has happened.
I know, and
Yeah,
I know
it's-
of one,
Yep,
but so then then they have to get, then it's back to the BZA, if they keep approving them, it's like,
It's code enforcement.
We busted one guy, we went out to do an electrical inspection, and the panel was literally labeled RV. We're like, come on. The guy's like, no, swear to God.
we don't live in this.
All right.
No,
But I agree with you. It just, you're taking away from tax base and increasing
Yes.
values of your neighbors. I mean, all of those
Right,
issues.
and that's things that we don't want to happen.
And then the thing is too, you limit the backlot garages, are there gonna be more houses and then more pressure trying to get, like Buena Vista has a bazillion houses and I think they've got their own like taxes. don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Docks
but
and all
they
that.
don't all have them, right? You
No,
have to
they do not.
apply and.
Right. So
And
you
you
might
can
see a little more of
president.
that coming up, but I don't know that it would be a lot. Again, I can't really predict the future. We can only try to get ahead.
No, I would just like to be part of something that helps. It makes us healthy in our growth.
the right growth, I agree. I think that's why we all got in, part of this.
I'm trying to think I can think of 2 in the last 2 years.
I have actually got, I don't have it on me, but I've got a spreadsheet so I can let you know how many there were. Exact numbers.
I'm just saying, like on the BZA, I can only think of 2 that come to mind. One of them was in Buena Vista.
One of the stuff.
But I guess, not that I don't know that it's not working, I guess, it's kind of where I'm thinking it, not that we can't discuss it, but I guess I'd be curious to see how many we've actually had, pick a time, like 3 years or whatever. How many?
And that's the point of this, if the board comes up with, hey, 300 is actually the best alternative, because we've looked at everything else and it's not as good, then it's 300.
Well, I think I would, and this is me personally, and look, I build accessory structures. And there's times where it just doesn't make sense, but I think I would rather see it come to an advisory board as opposed to just increasing it because of the potential for more pressure.
Right.
And more things and more issues down the road. I guess you can always be more restrictive, but it's hard to go backwards, right? Like once you switch it from say 300 feet to Linda County, then we've, I don't know. I guess I'm just throwing that. And not saying that we can't, I would like to, I don't have a number. I don't know what a good number, how you would define a good number, whether it's in the county, whether it's 1,000 feet, whether it's in the subdivision. I like the subdivision part because typically you see it's issues with subdivisions, or it is issues with subdivisions. But like then you get into like there's 3 subdivisions on my lane. So which subdivision are you part of? How does that?
Which edition and.
Correct. Are you in the 1st edition, 2nd edition, 3rd edition? Does that still count? All that kind of stuff. So I guess I don't know. And my thought is it seems like it's working in that we haven't had a ton of complaints, but not necessarily could it not be changed and better? I don't know.
That's the good thing with being proactive. We're not in a hurry. We're sensing a trend. We're seeing some stuff happen. And it's one of those things where if this takes a year and we get it right, it takes a year to get it right, rather than just throwing some number, changing stuff in 2 months because we want to get it off this list. So we've got time, and this isn't like stormwater where it's really going to harm people. It could, but not as drastic, I don't think.
Last year, we had quite a few because of big turkey.
Well, and again, I forgot about, and where Christine is, I just think.
I was wondering, I was like trying to think what that other
I know, I was
The way
like.
that building.
That was the other one.
I think we should at least have that discussion so that, you're right, the alternative is that people are just. building
And on a day-to-day
garage,
basis,
they don't have a
I
permanent
know we
residence.
hear it a lot of people saying, hey, I want to build here. And it's like, no, 300 feet, you can't. So then they're like, well, what can we do? We've had people combine lots just to get within that.
I would say the ag community, that's what they're doing. If somebody's gotta have space, they're gonna try to buy a plat from, an adjacent farmer, right? But that would still be.
Yeah, but then you're off the lake, you're far away from your, that was on a boat.
Yeah, no, and I guess, accessory building. The accessory building, I guess, is the, you guys, the ag community relies on that sometimes. You're expanding, your operation, you need, more accessory space.
This doesn't really apply to us.
Because of this only
Because it'll go on its own plat, be its own primary structure.
But even if it's close to the farmhouse or anything, or a primary residence?
No,
I'm imagining a football field, that's a long way away.
As the crow flies, I think we've been pretty loose about, it's not like as you drive down the roads to get there, if you put it on a map, right,
Yeah, it's a straight line.
We deal with so few split up lots though. All of our lots are huge, so. We don't want quarter acre lots either.
Again.
That's what makes us so unique.
So again, I give you guys a ton of credit for bringing it, so that it's being discussed and that we should be looking forward, forward thinking.
Are we not? You want to talk about your racetrack now?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so any other questions about that? So again, I think that we just have to, again, kind of visualize and see what the examples are and, if it makes sense. But again, it's good governance. If the BZA has dealt with a number of them, then we can put something in place that takes away from the BZA having to do variance all the time.
Clint, my question is to, through this ordinance update process, was it, I guess I was kind of envisioning that we were going to go chapter by chapter and just kind of work through each one. Are you just bringing ones that you're seeing in the office or things that are popping into your head? Only reason I ask is because I kind of feel like we're jumping around.
We are jumping around. What we've always discussed with Brandon and Ryan from HPG or whatever they're called now, 720? Whatever, the guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna take care of the stuff that we need to take care of or start discussing. And then here later this year, fall, whatever, you guys are gonna see the thing that we go chapter by chapter, which will be the update.
Okay.
So
Wait for 2 years.
if we get it done properly, timing is the question here. You should see this stuff in the new update as well. So you should see a mixture of old and new as you're going through stuff. The deal is not to wait on them, basically, if we got stuff that we can handle.
If there's stuff that we know that we're having issues with, right?
Yep.
Bring it up, let's go through it and see if we can get it in the update before and then see how that fits back into the ordinances that we work through.
Exactly. Yep.
How much would pay for this study?
60. Over a couple of years. Well, there are several sections.
I was just curious.
This is the ordinance update section. I think this was 30 grand for an ordinance update, but they're not throwing out the old and doing the new. We're just kind of revising. So we're kind of doing it.
I was just curious. I knew what we paid for wage setting, so I was just curious.
Okay, so move on to the environmental nuisance ordinance update.
And that's basically, we just wanted to bring it up for discussion because our environmental nuisance ordinance is a little bit out of date and it references some like old sections of the ordinance. And I believe there's a section that also references the old ordinance.
And it points back to 7.6 of the old.
So we would like to just clean that up to where it was more enforceable, because I know we ran into issues in the past with our tall grass ordinance. And I know we do get those complaints a little bit more. It seems like, and knock on wood, it's been less this year with our tall grass complaints. You'd have to ask Christina, but we would like that to be more enforceable in general and not reference any old ordinances. So that's something that we brought up to the health department because they pull from that ordinance as well. So they're going to look through to see if there's any changes, because Jason mentioned some things with like well and septic like that they reference. I'm not exactly sure what all they reference from the environmental aspect of it, but he said that him and Alicia are going to go through it and then give me back any changes or updates they would like to see, and then we would go from there.
Okay, so what would an environment, so you kind of narrowed it there. So the health department is saying it's an environmental nuisance.
So that's like with, I know with like mosquitoes, they get into like the environmental nuisance aspect of it, like with your weeds and tall grass, and with like junk and debris. I know there's certain things with like vector with mosquitoes that they look into a little bit more.
When you start off, it says any accumulation of junk and debris, hazardous material, something that's like an attractive nuisance to wildlife. So it's a big umbrella. Then when you get in there, there's a whole process. What's weird about this ordinance is it's technically a county ordinance, not a planning ordinance. It's outside the zoning ordinance, but it references the zoning ordinance. So historically, or reality, I don't think we have to come before this board for recommendation, but I think the commissioners have always liked that, because even though it's not in the zoning ordinance, it's a separate standalone ordinance, it still references it technically. So we're working with the health department on it right now. So you will see it we'll pass a recommendation on to the commissioners with it. It's one of those things we want to bring it up to date, make it a little more easy to use. I think that's where you're going to find a lot of our fines. And if we can address some fines in that section, that might help us when we're doing the rest of the code enforcement and the zoning ordinance.
Well, and that's probably the top set of questions I hear from people because of my role. But why do these lots look so bad, and why do they, why is nobody doing anything about that? And and it's easy to say, there's just not enforcement and then funding to get them taken care of. But you can still have an ordinance that says you can't do this. And then that just starts the process. If somebody, fixes it or they get fined and then, you know, if it's,
And that's what we're dealing with right now. I mean, with the 12 grand a year we get, I'm not dumping on the council. I still don't think I am. We've gotten 12 grand for a long time, but that it's never been increased in the last 6, 8 years, 10 years, whatever it's been since I've been here, 9 years. So what we choose to do with the $12,000 is dumpster days, tire days, stuff you guys have heard about. Christina's working on an electronics day. I think they're going to be free to us, maybe. It might be free to us. I don't know. I'm not going to swear to that yet. So we might not actually pay any budget out of that because there might be some value in the electronics and the people that take it. So we try to clean up that way, you know, to get the neighbors to help out. Individuals come dump their trash. If we try to clean up the properties you're talking about, 1, maybe 2 a year. We usually do 1 or 2 a year with Don. We take people to court. This year, probably less because we're getting sued from the other side, and that usually takes up a lot of our time and effort going forward.
so you're not necessarily gonna spend it then.
No, it'll get spent. We'll spend it different ways. We'll just do more tire days, more dumpsters, more, you know, stuff like that to clean it up. So that's why we do it that way rather than go out and go after individual properties. Because if we do that, it's 1 a year. And what happens there, and I've been through it because we have done occasional properties like the house tear down a few years ago. Article goes in the paper. Half the county thinks you're a saving hero because you cleaned it up. The other half hate you because you chose that one and not theirs. So that's another problem with only having that amount of money. If we spend it on one cleanup a year, everybody's gonna be like, well, why don't you do ours? You can barely do it.
And does that turn into a political issue then?
About whether or not something's cleaned up somewhere or the other place.
Yeah, do you guys hear, I mean, the commissioners here about it probably more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we are not.
It just, you know, it just seems.
I have not been approached in my 3.5 years about a piece of property.
Probably more so than, okay.
Wait, Charlie, what's the
I know.
ordinance, the nuisance ordinance?
You know,
That's what we're just talking
Yeah,
about.
what's
Do we know, we have one, but
Yes.
what chapter is it?
Yeah, what-
It's not, it's outside the zoning ordinance.
But it references back to our zoning ordinance.
So will you send it to us so we can see it?
Yeah,
I can do that. Yeah, I just want to see what it says so that we know what we're.
And I don't understand how it's on the ordinance, on the outside of the ordinance.
I know.
Commission ordinance. So like in this case, so if you appeal my decision because I say your setback isn't right, or you have too many cows or whatever, you appeal my decision, that would go to the BZA. On an environmental nuisance, if you appeal my decision, you appeal directly to the commissioners. It bypasses all the planning, look, it's outside separate ordinance that, again, multiple departments are listed on there that can take care of the violations.
There's several ordinances like that, or
To the main vehicle ordinance.
dogs and loose dogs, that sort of thing.
Okay.
That's probably the biggest complaints I get, are sent to me, or tickets written on loose dogs at large and so forth.
So they want you to take care of them or?
I have to, I don't have to, because now the prosecuting attorney's office has the authority to do it. But I understand they're too busy to handle, and I understand that.
Yeah. Interesting, okay. Inner workings of that, you know, tattletales maybe. Okay, so again, I think, so forward thinking on what this looks like and what we need to do to make
So-
sure it's all clear.
What do they reference for our zoning?
Right now, they reference 7.6 of the pre-2008 ordinance, which doesn't exist on the current ordinance.
So if it doesn't exist, what will it?
Oh, that's probably.
So
correct.
since
Yeah.
that's the old one,
Say what's the
where
comparable.
are you thinking that it's going to
What was the chapter?
reference?
20? I think it's probably fourth the chapter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
This board makes lots of comments about, we can't do this, we can't do that. Not, and I understand what came to every department head this year, about pay and employees. But what is needed? I'm asking. I've never heard it.
I mean, what we're
What is-
asking, what we're gonna ask for this year is 25 grand for next year. And what we're hoping to do with that is prove to you and ourselves that what we can do is do the current stuff we're doing now. And when we try to clean up 2 properties. So historically, we do a tire day and we come back and ask for the money. So what we're gonna do is try to roll that over. So when I present to you on the 12th, what I'm gonna say is, here's our goal, is to keep the same number of tire days, do the same number of dumpsters, and clean up 2 properties. And let's see what happens with that. Then once we test that through the 2026, if it goes through, then we can see, okay, do we need more employees? What's gonna, I mean, it's all gonna be kind of a case study of stuff that works out. here's the problem, I talked to Andy, keep bringing him up, he's not here, I apologize, but his thing is, we've gone so long with just kind of maintaining the status quo and the cleanup. Maybe now is the time we need to bring the hammer now. If the council decides that's temporary, I don't know if you can do that or not, I don't know how that works, that's all on you. For 2 or 3 years, we're gonna really increase the budget and funding, we're gonna go after people, then we'll pull back a little bit, I don't know, or if it works out so well. Because you can go on the flip side also, and this is just my personal feelings, you give us too much, you can trample on people's rights as much as you can trying to clean up and help them out. So it's one of those things where we don't want to get nitpicky, where it's like, oh, 1 mile an hour, the speed limit, I'm pulling you over and giving you a speeding ticket. That's not what we're heading for. What we're looking for is to make an impact so people know that we are available, we are able to do stuff. You're gonna get fined, you're gonna get ticketed, you're gonna get your property cleaned up, and there's a 25% administrative fee tacked on top of that. So if it costs us 10 grand to clean it up, you're gonna be paying what, $12.50, right? So cleaning it up yourself will be a lot cheaper because we'll have to contract it out. And then hopefully what that does is, I've seen it, it does get the ball rolling. People start taking care of their own stuff. Now, there's certain people out there that it don't matter what you do.
No,
That stuff. We get them to court.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we have represented someone on the opposite side of the city of Bengal.
So it's kind of, I mean, like a political return on the investment, if more money goes into it, does that get people saying, oh, you guys are really cleaning up the county, that's money well spent?
I mean, you look at other cities where they have legit code enforcement that drive around all day and look for violations, right? And they send tickets and they get violations. And I mean, ultimately, in my opinion, that becomes a self-sustaining department in that you're doing things, you're sending violations, you're setting a precedence that you're not going to just let anything go by just because somebody's not complained about it. But we're actually going to seek out and try to stop some of the violations.
So that's a conversation I've never even heard. I did
Right.
not know that it was something that could be ticketed. So if you had somebody there's tickets for different violations. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm learning, but as I hear it said, my thought process is, we haven't discussed it. I've been on the council, this will be my 3rd budget session, which I'm sorry, I haven't looked at yours, I just got it this morning.
That's all right.
Um,
I pretty much maintain everything the status quo
Well,
is told,
yeah.
and then put 25 in it, yeah, because that's what the board told me to do.
so sometimes I have those conversations. What makes your world work?
I don't know
Right.
and I don't know where the money comes from. I do know, like years before working in Fort Wayne, that I did code enforcement issues where I would come in and clean people's property up, and I got paid by the city. I don't know where that money came from,
So they
and I don't know who ultimately they got it from. Obviously, they can't just continue to fund that, but it was a.
So is that 1 position for you? Is that 2 positions for you? Is that 3 positions? I mean, like, my question is, what should be in my head?
I would like, me personally, 1.5 more. What I'd like is 2 code enforcement individuals, and just for argument's sake, what I probably do is say you're east and you're west. And then I would love somebody in the office part-time, taking care of a lot of the letters, a lot of the phone calls, a lot of the organization. Because I've done code enforcement, and it's kind of like at the end of the day, what you do is, this is back in the camera days before the phones were, you drop off your CD or your floppy disks, and you might print off your pictures and just basically dump everything on your desk, and then you come in the morning and you clean up, gear up, and go out for the next day. The problem with that is when the boss or the assistant boss or the permit tech's sitting there, and they're like, I complained about this 3 days ago, and you haven't cleaned it up, Okay. Who did you talk to? Well, now it'd be Christina. Okay, she's out in the field. It's not a huge deal, but it really would be nice to have that person, that half-timer and part-timer in the office be the real linchpin, basically hold it all together. And that way we know when a phone call comes in. Now, granted, they're part-time, so it's not going to be full coverage, but when they're there, we would have those answers. We would have more organization, maybe more checking out files and stuff. Whatever, maybe more administrative, than the 2 out in the field can do their field stuff. And again, we're talking code enforcement here, and it is a big deal. But when we talk about our code enforcement officer, like Chuck just said, they do a lot of inspections, all the fences, all the sheds, all the foundations. Sometimes they do wall inspections if they're in the area to basically alleviate from the other people. So really, our current code enforcement person that somebody sees, oh, you have code enforcement? Technically, typically on a day-to-day basis, maybe half the day is spent on code enforcement. The other half is inspections, which is a kind of code enforcement in itself. Right?
So you would do 2 instead of 1 code enforcement and 1 inspector?
Well, they'd both be out in the field, probably both be doing that same thing. So I probably have 2 of what we have now.
But just
Okay, I mean,
that happens and then, yeah, just helping like control traffic.
I know what we're up against this year, but at least it gives me the opportunity to
Mhm.
have that in the back of my head.
And I
know
told the board, I
that
mean,
for
we're
the
not
next
taking it personal, this is something we can just keep coming back, hey, give us a little, we'll see what we can do with it and try to get more next time, and, I mean, this is, I would rather have it tomorrow, but I get it.
There's a lot I would love to do tomorrow,
Right,
but that's not exactly in our funding flux, because you're completely out of general.
yes, we have one non-recurring fund, which is the unsafe building, but
It's
the problem
not.
with that is we tear down junk buildings, there's no value, we don't get any money back from them, so, yeah.
But like Landon said, it could be a self-funding process if you're, getting violations, people paying the fines and.
Do you have a list of your ticketed, the fines that you can ticket
We don't
for
have,
and
a
the
ticket-
amounts?
we don't have a ticketing thing right now, it's a fine and it's through the auditor's office.
Fine through the auditor's
Yeah.
office?
So I don't know if we've ever collected fines on actual junk and debris, we've only done it when we've cleaned up.
Right.
Or tore a house down.
Which.
You don't know if the auditor is collecting on the fines that you hand out?
We send a letter of fine, so it's not like we have a ticketing or a police officer type person, it's just letters that go out, notice of violations. And it's basically, yeah, you'd be fined so many dollars a day, and there's been they've been there decades. But we cap it at what, $2,500 too, so that's kind of an issue.
They're liens on the property, but often they're liens after the mortgage.
Yeah.
The people that you're enforcing against often don't have a lot of equity in their property, so.
Right.
And that's gonna be part of figuring all this out as well,
No,
is how we do that.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
curious. I mean, I get that you send a letter and that you do a fine and that it goes onto the property, but we don't do any other collection process other than that.
No, I think it's been a few years, but I did a judgment foreclosure when there was no mortgage on the property. It's been,
Yeah, foreclosures though are hard. I mean, that's a lot of work for you.
I've done enough of them. I've done everything so many times.
But then-
So mine is, it's not something that you could just, is the fine, is there a way to make it just a judgment so that you
It is,
feel like it is a judgment?
when the court issues it, it's a judgment. But again, some of the properties
It's worth it.
there's just not
Yeah.
the value to.
You wish it would be a revenue generator because you're cleaning it up and somebody's, okay, yeah, they paid the fine and that. But,
One tear down we had on Turkey Lake, I mean.
We lost 14 grand on that.
Oh, I'm not talking about those mine are the violations. If you are, you talk about it paying for itself. My question is, are we actually trying to get our money?
We've got some.
We don't have a ticketing thing. So that's part of this is I want to get a ticketing thing. We actually hand out tickets or whatever, and then the money does come back. And that is a process that would be part of this that I would love. But then probably, rely upon the more staffing, and that would be the part-timer's job, would be to follow up on that stuff.
We've got some money, but it's not compared to what you put into it, it doesn't.
Well, and I'm also, when I say that, I'm not talking about property tear down demolition. I guess I'm more so thinking of the small ticket violations, the $50, the $100 violations here that, sheds are a thing that drive me nuts, but whatever, that, we have these issues, like here's a code violation, here's the complaint, here's the fine, you pay it or you fix it. And it's not because we do have it. I mean, we have them, everywhere, not just in the low rent districts or the different economical statuses, just, of the county, but that's where I don't see making money back on big ticket items. I see making, a bunch of.
That's what yes,
And then curtailing the activity.
if that is. I mean, I just don't know what our fine, what they are.
$100 a day up to $2,500 cap. Typically, we have to go to court to collect, right? That's what we've always done.
I mean, what's the difference in like a parking violation?
Parking violation. You mean if you get
Yeah, you get a parking ticket, I mean, you have to pay it because if you don't pay it, it goes on your driving record, right? Well, this, I guess, goes on your
I don't
mortgage.
think parking tickets go on your driving record, but parking tickets are civil judgment. It's a,
They come and judge it, and then you deal with a collection agency who usually will take it on a contingency and go get that money.
Right. Like a 10% or whatever. So like, and this may be something where we're passing out the fines for violations that we then pass on to a collection agency or something like that to recover for that, where it's not necessarily I don't know if that's
And
possible.
also, of course, this was in the past. We have different judges now. Judges are reluctant to hammer people on these things. This is where they live. They have a lifestyle different than maybe you and I do. And I just have seen some reluctance on courts to put the hammer down. In fact, I had more than once, the judge said, why don't you guys go in the back room and work this out? You've been through that.
I've also had people pay the fines and then not clean up the property.
Yeah.
That happened just now. We got $2,500 out on what, 1,500, where is it?
And then don't you just start,
300?
don't you just start the process again? Don't you just fine him again? You paid the fines?
I have started the process again. That's always been kind of the end. Would that be the follow-up? We start the process again?
Yeah.
Give them 30 days after they pay the fine, start all over again.
Well, yeah, we haven't
The
cleaned
dog
up.
case in Pleasant Lake, it took us 2 years to.
A question in regards to fines. So the CCC complaint fine, like, how does it, has that stopped? Has it helped anything?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if it's helpful. We're definitely collecting on it.
Yeah, we definitely.
We're collecting on them, but it's also, do you think it's stopping, it's curtailing the process of people not applying for permits and just going for a CCC form? And I guess my only
I
reason.
definitely don't see people going, hey, I just, I didn't get this. Yeah, I don't see that. Just give me a CCC form, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, we don't see that so much where hey, we have to do this, but we have collected on, it's mainly been footers of, hey, they didn't, or they poured because they just thought we went out there, or they just didn't want to wait because the concrete truck or whatever.
Well, I guess, I mean, my thought process is, if that's helping, I mean, it's not a huge fine, but something very similar, like it doesn't take a ton of money to stop some of the activities that we're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good thing is we have a little bit of a carrot and a stick on the CCC stuff because they want the final, they want the CMO, and we're like, no, ain't happening.
Yeah.
So we do have a little bit there. Now, again, that's only when it's mortgage driven, when somebody has the big money. And we've had that happen many, many times where there's no mortgage on it. So there's really no CMO required, no final. How can they live there without? Well, we'd have to start that whole process over. And again, we're kicking somebody out of their house that's perfectly, anyway. So I think it's helping, but I don't think we're there yet to where it's really, I haven't had as much pushback on it, I can say. I thought we'd have some people screaming and yelling. It hasn't happened.
Just how that was just
Because
curious.
the new program, even if you didn't want to go down the collection agency, the TREX program that the commissioners have signed a contract for doing some of their stuff, it's immediately withheld out of their state returns.
Ooh,
I was not aware of that.
wow,
So I mean, it's just, I mean,
that's huge.
if it's people that are not our ones that don't have, but those that have, that if you have a fine and it becomes a judgment because it's a fine from a government, is that right? Is that how you explained it?
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's only one in the last 4 or 5 years that we haven't collected. Correct.
I think we've collected on them, yeah. Just the violation's still there. I mean, we got several of those. And I think too with violations, a lot of times they have info. I mean, it's not a joke, but in the opposite is the saying is if you want a violation to truly go away forever, they either die or move. Honestly, if you're gonna have, because a lot of times they will dig their heels in, even when they know they're wrong, they'll tell you, I don't care, I'm not doing what you say, and I'm not gonna pay this fine, and I'm not gonna, yeah.
But I like, okay, so if you've got a ticketing system and it's recorded, goes to the auditor, and then, if the commissioners have a process that will withhold from your tax, I mean, oh my gosh, that is the,
Possibility.
yeah.
I think
It's something,
Professional license,
I think you're gonna have to get a judgment first to collect.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
I just didn't, that was my question.
Well, I don't think due process is gonna permit you to say you owe me this money now.
I'm gonna take it out of your tax.
We're gonna
Then how does it attach to the property? How does it attach to the property if it isn't a judgment? Is there a different ordinance that
It doesn't attach to the property without a judgment.
So we still have to go through the same
you
process.
still have to get your judgment? Okay.
We gotta
But
find
then it's just a collection part. I
Say,
mean,
but then
that's,
you're actually gonna get it at least.
I mean, it's free, you don't pay filing fees because you're a municipality.
And again, we're on the money stage, and I agree with what Landon said about, this could be a moneymaker. I think I've heard that from Reinhold as well. And these are businessmen that have their own, so I trust them and believe them. I'm a government guy, so I don't really know all the ins and outs. But it's one of those things where when I look at it, I want the place cleaned up. I want the phone to stop ringing. I want people to stop yelling at me, because they assume even if we collect $2,500 and we're putting the screws to people, they're assuming I'm just sitting there taking a nap in the back room because they're not seeing a change. So ultimately, to me, what I want to see is the cleanup.
Right.
I want them to be, if it's going to be a hammer with a fine or a collection, I want it to entice them into cleaning up their property to avoid that, rather than just, okay, I'll pay you a little bit of money on my judgment, because it's going to be a pain for us to go back through it, and then they just stay messy. And that does me no good.
There can still be a return on investment by government.
We can still be returning and a clean. I mean, we could be a win-win from our side.
Right, yeah, municipalities can make money.
And much like the Andy thing saying, hey, let's do the boats this way instead of that. I mean, I don't know where we're gonna end up, especially with like this environmental nuisance. But at least we're discussing, and I've heard a couple of things tonight that are outside of the box of what I've experienced before now. Can we do it? I don't know how the cities do it. I see the cities put little tickets on stakes in yards with tall grass. I don't know how that works. I've seen it, but
I've seen them.
yeah, but I don't know how it
Especially
works.
here south of town.
Yes, I saw it right over there. So yeah, I don't know how it works, but they do it somehow.
So it's something that then, looks like a ticket. So it's, in triplicate form. So, they get one, there's one filed, and then,
They see the one right in the yard, so all the neighbors know. Of course, they can see the tall grass too, so they would know. And they're probably
the neighbors are probably happy that somebody, they're finding them or they're in that process.
Well, I mean, before we had a weed ordinance, it was a specific height. If it was over that height, then we had so many days to clean it up. And if it wasn't cleaned up within so many days, then they paid me to go mow it and send them a bill.
And you look at Garrett's ordinance, Garrett has a very strict, you actually see the enforcement guy out there with a ruler.
We've had trouble though getting contractors to mow, because the last couple we've had some serious damage. Because when you're out there mowing a tall grass,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
you hit an axle or something.
Yeah.
And the guy like broke his $1,000-some mower on a $200 mow job. So then he was off the list. And a lot of these landscapers too, a lot of it when it happens, it's during their busy season. So they're not gonna give up one of their normal people to come out and mow lawns. So you kind of get the fly-by-nighters with the one-offers.
Are you seeing who's a fly-by-nighter?
No, I'm saying, not, he was in Fort Wayne, I'm talking about Peter.
It's gotta be, it's gotta be, an entrepreneur, high schooler that could.
No, you gotta have insurance. Insurance is the big thing, because you will tear up. There's a lot of, because people will call and say that you broke their storm door that's been broke for 6 months, and it is a nightmare, a true nightmare. But there's an end to the meetings. Like, it helps, and once you do that, it starts that process. And I guess, Christine, I don't know, my whole thing, I think when we started this, and Clint and I have talked about this in his office, is, we're seeing a lot of you're seeing a lot of growth in the counties, right? Like, and so I think we kind of, and don't take this the wrong way, I think we've been retroactive in a lot of the things that we've been doing here. So now, as before we snowball into disaster that we can't fix, like, let's try to be proactive in some of the stuff and figure out some of these ways to stop some of the issues before. I guess that was the basis for some of these.
Well, that's why I stopped to ask. It had been mentioned more than once, but I didn't. I was just curious.
I just think
There's a lot.
Like, Clint gets a raise, everybody gets their yard cleaned up. I think I'm happy.
Yeah, that works for me. I'll even mow the yard, you give me a raise.
Put yourself in there. Okay, no, so again, great discussions. I'm glad we didn't make the.
Yeah, right?
They could have sat through all of this. That would've been fun.
Jeez.
Okay, so that's all we've got. I guess, any announcements for the good of the board? Next meeting, September 10th. Anything else? Anybody have any questions? Like I said, happy birthdays. Tara, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much. Ada.
That's my birthday next month, so close to it, one day.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Labor Day.
I'll second.
We'll take a break. Any discussion? All those in favor, adjournment? Seems like I'm saying aye.
Hi.
Those opposed? We are done. Thanks, everybody.
Good one. That was a great meeting.
You're welcome. I didn't mean to derail us.
I mean, it's.
You don't know if you don't know.
Send in.
Yeah.
What
did you got?
Different.
Yeah, your case.
By the way, you gotta take the action to get to it. That's just.
Yeah.
No.
Screen for hours.
So in Harvard.
Absolutely.
You didn't share those with me. She knows I love her.
Hey, I had some up there.
I love raisins.
Yeah, diabetic, I got alcohol. Don't do drugs. If I want to get crazy,